for all of us. It's about predicting where the consumer is going and getting half of it right.
One of the things we want to do is create ads that don't suck.
Embracing change creates great possibility.
I'm Alan Hart, and this is Marketing Today. Today on the show, I'm talking to Mike Senackerib, co-founder and CEO of Farm&Oven. Mike started his path in CPG in early days with General Foods, which ultimately became Kraft. Spent a number of years at Campbell's, then became CMO at Hertz, the auto rental company, and then made a leap back to CPG with Campbell's becoming their CMO. And most recently has left big corporate America to start his own startup with his co-founder, Allison, called Farm&Oven. Today we talk about innovation in CPG, his move to the new startup, where he is today in that new venture, and what he thinks the future of marketing is going to hold. Well, Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Alan. It's good to be here.
Well, it's good to talk to you again. I think a great place to start would be talking about your career path from early days in CPG to making the CMO role at Hertz, back to CPG with Campbell's Soup, and now you're an entrepreneur. So tell us a little bit about this career path that you followed.
Sure. I would say I have a classic CPG marketing foundation, having worked for several CPG companies, mostly in the food business, right? Kraft, General Foods, Nabisco, Campbell's, and kind of a number of marketing and general management roles. I guess it all started when I finished business school and started my career at General Foods. Soon that became Kraft General Foods. And my first brand assignment was Cool Whip, which was just a great brand to start on and learn on, and had a lot of fun with that. Since then, I've had the opportunity to work on some great brands like Oreo and Ritz and Campbell Soup and Goldfish Crackers, to name a few. After General Foods, I went to Campbell's for 3 or 4 years, then on to Nabisco. And while I was at Nabisco, which then became part of Kraft, seems like there's a little bit of a pattern there. I progressed into general management roles, running the salted snacks division, which Planters Nuts was the big brand, then running the $4 billion Nabisco biscuit division, as well as my first global role, heading up global snacks, confections, cookies, crackers on a global basis. And then after 12 years, I left to become the CMO at Hertz. So it's a great time for me to step outside of the food business and really accelerate my learning curve. It was a new industry. It was a big role. It was on the executive team working for directly for the CEO. And I felt like there was a lot of growth upside in the company. We did have a great run. And I gained a lot from the Hertz experience. We built the business. We worked in a much more digital first and e-commerce environment than where CPG was at that point in time, right? This is back beginning in 2008 when I joined there. And then I really learned about the value of understanding the consumer experience and omni-channel marketing while I was there. Ultimately, I was drawn back to the food business. It's probably because I'm a foodie and I really love to eat, and it definitely is a passion point. And I joined Campbell's as the CMO. And it was kind of a good fit and a good time, ready to embark on Campbell's was ready to embark on a digital journey and upgrade their marketing capabilities. And my time away from that and at Hertz, I think, really made it a good fit and probably made me better able to help Campbell's on that journey. And then now on to my own startup for the first time.
So you've had a lot of high profile positions. Why make that move from big company, big CPG to startup world?
It sounds a little crazy, doesn't it? So I'll tell you what, I've often thought about starting my own business, but it's always the timing wasn't right or the idea wasn't right. I don't think I'm alone in that. I think a lot of people, maybe have that fantasy from time to time. But right now, with the food business trends shifting so rapidly, it's really a great time for startups. A lot of the growth is coming from smaller companies. I got involved in this one when I tasted the products that my now business partner, Kay Allison, had made. I couldn't believe how good they tasted. I see how much of the growth is coming from natural and health-oriented small companies. So it just felt like the timing was really right, and it was a chance for me to really test my skills as an entrepreneur and kind of satisfy that burning passion.
Well, you mentioned it. I mean, a lot of CPG innovations really coming from outside big CPG companies versus inside. Can you give us a little bit of insight into the state of innovation in big CPG? You mentioned fresh and healthy, but artisan also seems to be something that's coming out.
Yeah, it is. Some of this I think is the big food company business model is really about scale efficiency, right? They have had this unbelievable success building these big brands that were broadly appealing, that have high market share. And I've had certainly have had a great career being part of many of those big brands. But yeah, kind of as you noted, like a lot of the innovation, organic, fresh, healthy, artisan foods is coming from these smaller startups and not traditional big food. So it's kind of a question of why. And I would say, I think the biggest challenge is changing consumer preferences. Mm-hmm. When it comes to fresh and organic and natural and artisanal, I think we're finding consumers are more interested in these authentic startup companies that seem to feel like they connect with them from a value standpoint, and a little less receptive to the big food brands extending into some of those spaces. It might be fair, might not be fair, but there's kind of an expectation that some of the big processed brands just don't authentically make an organic or fresh product, or couldn't satisfy that. So that's been a little bit of a challenge for the big companies. On the other side, barriers to entry have been reduced, right? Supply chain and marketing are much easier for small companies to access. The small businesses don't always fit in a big company because they're set up for scale. The kind of unique packages and products are a little harder to fit in and to garner the resources that they might take over a long period of time. So I think what's really happening with center store growth slowing, big food companies have moved, they're certainly innovating, right, and trying new things, but they've also had to move to a lot of focus on efficiency to improve profits, right? The 3G acquisition of Heinz and then Kraft has set a very aggressive bar on efficiency that the industry has been following. Maybe not everybody to the same degree, but almost everybody's got a ZBB program and a margin expansion program in implementation. So the big companies see this, and what they're doing is oftentimes they're buying these startup companies once they get enough scale, right? General Mills bought Annie's a few years ago. Campbell's has bought Bolthouse Farms and Plum and Garden Fresh. Mm-hmm. And secondly, they've established venture capital funds as a way in, right? Campbell's, General Mills, Kellogg's, they all have these venture funds that allow them to both see what's happening and access it and access what's happening in the market and some of the innovation, also potentially tap into it, and then hopefully as time goes on and as they mature, take ownership of some of those companies and really help them to drive growth.
Right. And you mentioned ZBB, and I just want to clarify for people that are listening, may not know that it's zero-based budgeting. That was made famous.
Zero-based budgeting.
Yeah, made famous by 3G Capital.
Very famous, and starting at zero.
Right, every time. No run rates here, folks. So every time justifying every dollar that you're spending. So, well, tell us a little bit about Farm&Oven and what type of snacks you're making, and what's unique about it.
Sure. So the idea was started by my partner, Kay Allison, who was trying to really find a way to get her daughter, who is a picky eater, to eat more vegetables. I think so many of us can relate to that.
Yeah, I can.
I can, although I think it's sometimes more me than my children. So I like the products for me personally, and I'm okay with that. Our mission at Farm&Oven is bringing joy to the healthy, right? So I've always been intrigued by making healthy a more positive and less less painful experience, whether it's exercise, eating, lifestyle. So the Farm and Oven Bakery Bites are these mouth-watering, moist little snack cakes. Each of them have 2 servings of vegetables and a daily dose of probiotics. And so imagine eating healthier and really loving it. What I like about it is getting rid of the judgment about whether you've been good or bad, right? Just eat great foods and enjoy the fact that they have the right ingredients. They're inspired by things you might recognize as being compatible with vegetables in some cases, like a zucchini, lemon, poppy seed flavor, a carrot cake and cinnamon. We have a pumpkin maple pecan. And then my favorite, which is the beet dark chocolate, because dark chocolate belongs in everything.
I agree with that. Very much. So, well, when we last talked, you highlighted a channel strategy that was you were focusing purely on e-commerce. So, tell us about that.
Yeah, so we're definitely prioritizing e-commerce first for a number of reasons, and I think that is a little bit unusual. But there are a few things that are really attractive about it. So first, our consumer target, which tends to be more health-oriented, tends to be a little younger, have a greater propensity to shop online and to shop for food online. So it's kind of a good fit from that standpoint. Secondly, e-commerce is really growing by leaps and bounds. I think everyone knows that. It's still on the smaller side, but it is growing, and it's growing even faster among the younger, health-oriented consumer. I think it's only about, the latest estimates I've seen is probably only about 5% of sales today of food sales, right? Food is kind of the last place that is developing in e-commerce, but growing, double digit. I look to China. And the development they have there, it's about 3x the development of the US in e-commerce food sales. So it is kind of easy to see where this trend is going. That Amazon will look like Alibaba, and the market will follow the size, I believe, that China has achieved already, and then some. Will it ever be 50% of sales? Probably not. But will it be 20 or 25% of total food sales? Yes. And for brands like mine, it will probably be the biggest channel that is out there at some point in time. But a couple other things that are really intriguing about it: the ability to adapt in e-commerce is much greater, right? You can quickly adjust pricing and marketing strategies to optimize the proposition. And in some ways, if it's a little wrong, we can get it all the way right, and we can continue to refine that. Whereas when you go into retail brick and mortar, you're a little bit locked into that strategy for a period of time. Right. And then lastly, the economics are really, really favorable for a startup company in the CPG space. We can get more attractive margins. We have pricing control and a lot less working capital to get started. So definitely some limitations, but I love it as the lead channel for us to go into.
Right. It sounds like a good lead channel just to work out, your proposition. Like you said, you can modify pricing. You can potentially, be faster at bringing new flavors or new profiles to market if you wanted to do that. So it sounds like a smart choice. Where are you right now in the life of this new venture? I know it's relatively recent, so tell us where you are and what's on the horizon.
Yeah. So right now we are early, but we are far along in product and packaging development. We're getting ready for a national launch in e-commerce in August. So crossing my fingers, it all goes well. With the early production runs, we'll be on Amazon in August and ready for sale. Right now, Kay and I have self-funded the venture, so we haven't taken any outside money at this point. We do have a Kickstarter that is live, so I guess that's a little bit of outside money help, and it's off to a good start. And that will help fund production costs for the first commercial run in July. Definitely off to a good start. Would love the support of your listeners, Alan. So this will be my one plug. So check it out.
Definitely.
If nothing else, you'll get to laugh at me in the video, and a little bit of humiliation for me, but it may be worth it just for that. So have at it. I'm not I'm not above embarrassing myself if needed. We might bring investors in later if we want to really accelerate the pace of innovation. We've had some unsolicited interest, but we're pretty early and want to kind of go it alone for now. We'll use debt financing as needed for some of the working capital expansion, and probably the decision to bring in investors will really be all about are we at a position where we want to go really fast and accelerate it, and then it would be great to have a little extra capital to do that.
Right. So you're still in the early days, but you passed the really early days. You got a real product, real packaging, and starting to move on the production front. So what's been the biggest challenge or most fun so far?
So I'm going to start with fun because it's really been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It has been. And, I don't know if this is just because it's maybe that pent up desire of wanting to try something like this and now getting to do it. But what's really fun is you can just move so quickly, right?
Yep.
When we need to make a decision, it's just the two of us, and you make it and you go. We're using, during the Kickstarter, we're doing some marketing to drive people to that. And we're testing different digital and social and email and, marketing campaigns. And you can immediately change to whatever has the highest ROI communication within seconds. Whereas, in other situations, it might be, we might give it a little more time. We might have more people involved. So I love that we're just making the changes quickly and figuring out what works. I'm kind of a problem solver by nature, so having a new problem to solve every day is fun, right? One day it's a supply chain issue, another day it's a financial issue, another day it's a product issue. Guess what? There's a shortage of organic zucchini, and because that's a really good flavor. So what do we do, right? You ultimately solve them all, but it's issues that someone else might have solved when I was working for a bigger company. Maybe it's a legal issue or whatever consumer issue of the day has come up. I would say the biggest challenge in what's different is, there aren't other resources, right? It is all you. And so it means that, if I can or Kay can handle it ourselves, that's great. We just go do it. If not, then we've got to go find the right partners to do it. And so, some of the work has been assembling a team of great external partners who are good at specialized areas that can really help us to build a business, so that, you can take on whatever you can take on. And then the things that you're just not good at, you outsource and get someone to do. And so that's been challenging but fun, kind of cobbling that network of partners together.
Right. And, finding those partners when you're small or when you're starting and you're trying to be scrappy, I think it puts an extra fine point on it. I don't know if you've noticed that.
It does. It's, I think, and I know you've done this, right? You've done
Right.
a lot more startups than me. This is my first time at it. There's probably two things that are challenging with it, right? One is you want to be very judicious with the spending, because you are starting up, you're not making any money yet, right? You don't want to get so far out in front of this thing that you've spent more money than you can recover quickly. The other challenge is, you don't have the weight of the big company that everybody says, hey, I can't wait to talk to you, right? It's, when you're calling from Campbell's or Kraft, someone is always answering that call on the other end. When you're calling from this little company that nobody's ever heard of, it's like, what's your website? So you do have to kind of hustle and find those and do a lot of networking to find the right connections.
Right. Right.
The good news is there are a lot of good people out there, and they recommend other good people. So it's been really a lot of fun kind of putting that together.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a good, once you find a couple good people, they know more good people. So it's,
Right, exactly.
It's funny how that works. But one of the things I like to do with each person that comes on the show is kind of get to know them as a person too. So stepping back from the day job and running this new startup, was there a moment in your life that defined who you've become? Kind of a deep question.
That is a deep question, and I'm sitting here thinking of 100 different moments, and are any of them really big enough? You know what I would have to say though. I think one moment that may be defining for me personally and professionally is during my wife's second pregnancy. she needed to be hospitalized for several months, right, towards the like back third of the pregnancy. So here I was in the midst of developing a strategic plan for the Swanson broth business, readying this new breakthrough packaging innovation that we were going to bring to market, having to deliver the quarterly numbers, right, the day job, if you will. And then suddenly a single dad, at least temporarily, because we didn't have daycare or anything. So I'm calling in all kinds of favors on who's going to watch my 3-year-old, and
Right.
kind of working through all those things. But what happened during that is that's when I really learned how to prioritize the most important things in both life and in business. I certainly learned a lot more about the importance of life balance. And it doesn't mean that you don't work hard and work a lot. It just means you have to find the time for the things that are really, really important, right? The time for me to spend with my 3-year-old, the time for me to get over to the hospital became important, but it didn't mean that I could only work, it didn't mean I had less hours that I could work every day, right? Or that stuff couldn't get done. So it definitely made me a better dad. But from a business perspective, I think it really taught me how to put the most energy behind the biggest ideas. You start to learn that you have so many things that can be done. Which ones do you want to put a lot of energy behind that can make the biggest impact? We can't do everything well, but we can do anything well. And so the real challenge is pick the most important anything and go after it, right? So we picked a few big things that I focused on and had a great year on the business. And life all worked out, so not bad.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Well, what keeps you motivated today? I mean, you've got a lot, I guess, in this new startup, but is there anything you can point to? Makes you get up in the morning?
Yeah. I was just going to say I get up in the morning and I check the Kickstarter to see if what are we up to now? It's kind of like I don't have daily sales numbers yet, so that's the closest I've got, right? So that's my check. But what I'm really passionate about is building businesses. I mean, that is what I have always loved, and in some ways, having your own is maybe the ultimate expression of that, right? I'm always looking at ways to measure growth and value creation, right? I talked about the measurement just a second ago. It was doubling the stock price at Hertz and increasing the stock by 80% at Campbell's, turning Nabisco around, building a sustainable business model, launching $100 million platforms. So those to me, those building blocks, and really, if it's a business that's not doing well, making it better. If it's doing well, going from good to great. If it's new, turning it into a thriving enterprise. That's really what I love doing. I love building businesses, and right now I'm just having a great time building this. Partnering with Kay and kind of getting it up and off the ground, and we'll see where it goes. I feel very optimistic about it. We've got great concept scores. I love the product personally, and so that's always a good thing. I can't actually wait for our next production run because I'm out of it at my house now. So just for my own personal consumption.
Right, exactly. Well, I've noticed that marketers are usually students of the business, and as students, they tend to monitor the outside world, potential brands that they like or companies that they follow. Are there any that come to mind for you?
I'll give you two things that are, Farm&Oven, of course, right?
Right, so, of course.
I assume that was I assume that was what you were leading to.
Yeah.
In terms of things that I'm kind of paying attention to right now, one of them that I'm watching is La Colombe Coffee shops. It's a local favorite in Philly, but it's now backed by Hamdi, who built Chobani into $1 billion brand. So I'm really interested in seeing where that goes, and does the magic of Chobani translate into this great coffee product, and where that goes. So it's kind of intriguing to me to see where an entrepreneur takes it the second time, because he's had some pretty cool success. The other one that I feel like it's the $1 billion brand that was under the radar is Chewy.com is one of the fastest businesses to $1 billion. I think they're now $1 billion. I could be wrong. But I just look at, with e-commerce exploding, here's a business that has become kind of the Amazon of the pet industry and just went from nothing to enormous. And I'm just interested in where that goes and maybe who's next in that space, right? So certainly Amazon is enormous. Walmart bought Jet. You've got Fresh Direct doing a lot of expansion in the Northeast. It'd just be interesting to see where that whole segment goes. But I think Chewy is pretty inspirational.
Yeah, that my Chewy box shows up every month for prescription cat food, of all things.
Prescription cat food.
Prescription cat food. Yeah. It's a pain to get at a physical store. So, yeah.
People, we will do anything for our pets, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I could go on and on about all our pet issues.
I someday hope to have the same status that my pets have in the household. So.
Exactly. My last dog had an orthopedic surgeon. I've never had an orthopedic surgeon myself. So.
Oh my goodness!
It's amazing. It's amazing. So, last question. What do you think the future of marketing holds? Where do you think it's going?
I would say this is like one of the most exciting times for marketers, but also the most complex, right? What an unbelievable change today versus 30 years ago when guys like me were starting out in the business. But one of the areas that I see really cool and continued advancement in is the personalization and automation of personalization, right? Especially the intersection of the two enabled by technology, AI, machine learning, usable data analytics are making automation at a very personalized level, more of a reality, driving fast, efficient consumer content and being able to have machines take care of that for us, if you will. And the cool thing is even for big mass marketers, it's always been that what you've always wanted to do was segment, right? Get down to the tightest, most relevant segment you can. And, even people that have tens of millions of consumers are getting closer to getting down to that one-to-one personalized message and having the technological capability of reaching it because no one person could ever physically do that themselves. That's kind of marketing nirvana. It's pretty cool.
Okay. Well, Mike, thanks so much for coming on the show today.
Hey, Alan, thank you. It's great being here, and let's stay in touch.
Marketing Today is brought to you by Atomic. Atomic focuses on unleashing the growth potential for clients we serve. Atomic is a strategic consultancy specializing in business, marketing, brand, and innovation. Our singular goal is to help you accelerate your efforts with the right mix of expertise, analysis, and creativity. Check us out at atomic.com, ATOMCK.com. Hi, it's Alan again. Marketing Today was created and produced by me, with project management by Sarah Williams, audio production by Aaron Campbell, writing and editing by Kevin Greeley, social media support by Megan Woods, art and graphic design by Sarah Dell. If you're new to Marketing Today, please feel free to write us a review on iTunes or your favorite listening platform. Don't forget to subscribe and tell your friends and colleagues about the show. We love to hear from listeners at info@atomic, ATOMCK.com. I'm Alan Hart, and this is Marketing Today.